Here are the best sneaker releases of July 2020. There is lots of profit to be made. Like this video and subscribe if you want more drop lists like this. The Jordan 13 Lucky Green might be dropping July 4th. If it does, it will retail for $190 and resell for around $260, as the drop isn't scheduled until September 26th, at least for Nike and other major retailers. If these do in fact drop on July 4th, I would suggest copying them because they'll pretty easily make you some money, and I think over time, at least shaping up towards the drop, I think prices should rise a little bit, but I don't think any significant value increase will happen. So I would just say sell your pairs within a month of the actual drop, but I definitely think you'll make a lot of money on these just because there's a pretty low margin and because I don't know, there's just a lot of money to be made on these. So if you see that they are dropping, I would 100% suggest going for them. The Jordan 6 Quai 54 will be dropping July 4th. These will retail for $200 and resell for around $220. I wouldn't suggest going for these just because they're going to be dropping on sites that likely won't have free returns and because margins are kind of tight on these, so I wouldn't suggest going for them. But if you do like them, I would go for them. Alright, for these, I don't really like the colorway. It just doesn't really, make a splash for me. But I do like the Jordan 6 model, and I do think some people actually like these. So if you do want them, they're likely going to be dropping on like Foot Locker and sites like that, select retailers. And they might drop on Nike.com, just the regular site, not on sneakers. And in my opinion, these really aren't the most hype shoe, and I don't think a lot of people actually want them. So I don't think there'll be that much resale value there. So I would suggest staying away from these just because there won't be that many retailers with free returns. And either way, you're most likely wasting your time on these just because there won't be that much resale value overall for these. The Jordan 5 Grape will be dropping on July 7th. These will retail for $190 and resell for around $230. In my opinion, this is a pretty nice shoe, but I'm kind of skeptical on the resale value just because the top 3 is kind of bricked and these aren't that much better looking than the top 3s. In my opinion, if you're going to go for these, I would only suggest going for them on Nike just because of the free returns. If you have any other sites that have free returns, I'd also suggest going for them on there just because there should be some profit margin, but if this is a GR like the top 3s were, I don't think there's going to be that much resale value, even though there is a lot of hype behind these, just because the Jordan 5 is a great model and this is a pretty good colorway for the Jordan 5. So I would suggest only going for Nike and other sites with free returns, just because the profit margin really isn't there, and if it is a general release like the top 3s were, these could brick. The Jordan 11 White Concord will be dropping on July 10th. It will retail for $185 and resell for around $200. This one won't resell for that much just because it's mostly in women's sizes, but I do think a lot of people will want these for the personal because they're a really clean pair of shoes. The Jordan 11 Low is a pretty nice model, so I definitely expect there to be a lot of hype. I would suggest only going for these on Nike just because they're pretty likely to brick. But if you're going to go for these, I would suggest going in for the super large sizes just because it's a woman's shoe. So they're going to be a half size up. And also just because usually women's shoes resell in the larger sizes. And just because the Jordan 11s also resell in the larger sizes. I think the larger size will do a lot better on these. Just because I feel like a lot of the larger size guys will be wearing these for the personal. The Jordan 1 Smoke Gray will be dropping July 11th. These will retail for $170 and resell for around $220. In my opinion, this is a really nice looking shoe, and I think a lot of people will want these, so there's a lot of hype behind these. These are a really nice pair of shoes, and just because it's a Jordan 1 colorway, I think it'll resell for a good amount of money. I would suggest trying to get as many of these as you can, just because each one of them will pretty easily flip for at least $20 to $30 in profit. So if you can get more, you can of course make more money. And that's what the whole game is about. But I would just try and get a lot of these, mostly focused on Nike and Foot sites, just because those will have the most stock and will have the easiest way to return it, if these do in fact brick, which I doubt they will, but just in case, you can always focus on Nike and the foot sites. The Yeezy 700 MNVN Bone will be also dropping on July 11th. These will retail for $220 and resell for around $300. Going for these is not that much of a risk just because there's a lot of hype around these and because there's not that many pairs. Prices should be pretty good on these. In my opinion, this is a really nice shoe, and just because of the 700 MNVN's low retail price, this should easily resell. I would suggest focusing on Adidas and Yeezy Supply just because those will have the most stock, but I'd suggest more focusing on Adidas just because usually, or at least recently, Yeezy Supply has had a lot less stock than Adidas, and a lot more people have hit on Adidas than Yeezy Supply just because Yeezy Supply has been absolutely destroyed by bots recently, especially like Project Destroyer, some of these other ones. But I would just focus on Adidas just because they'll have the most stock and they're the easiest to get through on. The Jordan 12 University Gold will be dropping on July 18th. These will retail for $190 and resell for around $230. In my opinion, this will be a pretty easy flip just because Jordan 12 is a pretty nice model and this is a pretty nice colorway. The margins on this also should be good just because it's $190 retail, putting it around $200 for with tax and etc. stuff like that, and resale should be around $230. So it could be a pretty easy flip locally, or you could try and sell it on StockX and make like $10 to $20 per sale. But either way, you should be making some pretty easy lunch money. So I would suggest going for these on Nike or any other site where there's free returns, just because if these do break, free returns are a lot easier on these. And yeah. The Yeezy 350 V2 Zyon will be dropping July 18th. These will retail for $220 and resell for around $300. These will resell for a lot of money just because they've been delayed so many times and they've been pushed back over a month now. So I'm guessing there will be a lot of hype for these just because they also look like Statics and the Turtle Doves. So there's definitely a lot of hype behind these. The Zyons are definitely a nice colorway and probably one of the better colorways they've dropped in the Yeezy Boost 350 V2. And I would just say the hype has kind of been drumming up, especially because these have been delayed so many times and there hasn't been a V2 colorway dropped in a while. So I would think that there are a lot of people want these, and I could see prices on these going up a little bit higher just because I've seen cream prices. They're now at like $500. That's a lot cleaner of a colorway, but I could see these going up to like $400 just because Yeezy prices are on the rise. The Yeezy 380 Blue Oat will be dropping on July 25th. These will retail for $230 and resell for around the same at $230. There isn't that much hype for the Yeezy 380, so I wouldn't expect these to resell that much, but these are pretty nice personal just because they're very comfortable. The Yeezy 380 doesn't really have that much hype, so I wouldn't expect these to resell, and just because the colorway isn't the greatest, I also just wouldn't really expect the colorway to resell either. So these aren't going to resell at all. They might resell for retail, but the only way you should be going for these is if you want them for a personal, because there will be no resale value on these. The Jordan 1 Japan is set to drop on July 25th. These will retail for $170 and resell for around $230. This is a retro of a old Jordan 1 that dropped. It was the Japan. It was released in 2001. I would expect these to do pretty good numbers on the resale market at least. The margins are high on these. Basically everything is pretty good on these. It's a pretty basic colorway, but it's a retro of a really old colorway, and just because it has a lot of nostalgia with some sneakerheads, I definitely think these will do pretty good on the resale market. Also, just because it's such a bland colorway, just like a silver and like lighter gray, I feel like a lot of people definitely could be wearing these. I think a lot of people want it for the personal just because it's a really easy colorway to match with anything. The Jordan 4 Off-White sale is also set to drop in July. These will retail for around $200 and resell for over $500 just because it's an Off-White shoe. I definitely think it'll do very good resale-wise. It'll be pretty similar to the Off-White 5, but I think it'll do a little bit better just because I feel like it's a lot better of a model of a shoe to do for an Off-White shoe. I do wish they released the bread 4s before this one, but I do like this one. And I definitely think it'll have super good resale value. So I would suggest going for these on any site you can, just because they'll be super hard to get, and there's a ton of hype around these just because it's an off-white shoe and it's a Jordan 4. So I would, try and get it on any account. Use your mom's account, use your dad's account, sign up with all their information, and just try and get a pair of these because these will be super hyped and resell for a ton of money. The Nike Dunk Low Samba also should be dropping in July. These will retail for $100 and resell for around $275. In my opinion, this isn't the greatest Dunk Low, but it looks pretty similar to the Plum, so I think there will be a lot of resale value on this one, just because it's a Dunk Low and there's good margins on this. In my opinion, it isn't the greatest colorway, but I do think a lot of people like it just because it's pretty similar to the Plum, and that's actually kind of skyrocketing in value pretty recently. So I definitely think a lot of people want this, and just because the margins are so good, there will be a lot of profit to be made on this one. So I would 100% suggest going for these on any site you can. The Nike Off-White Rubber Dunks are also set to drop in July. These will retail for around $180 and resell around $275, just because these aren't the greatest looking Off-Whites, but these are set to be super limited, so I would think prices should be pretty high, but they could be kind of like the Quai and absolutely brick, so I wouldn't try and go all out for these just because they could super brick and be like the Quai and just not resell at all. Alright, if you want to join a really good Discord for free, there's a link in the description to my Discord. In my Discord, we got monitors, we got slots, we basically got everything, and I think it's just a really good community to join, and especially because it's free. Like with anything that's free, you can just get it, or you could leave. So with something that's free and provides actual value, you kind of have to join it. So also, you can leave whenever you want. So if you don't like it, you don't like the notifications anymore, you can just leave. But since it's something that's free, it's not like you wasted anything on it. So join the group. There's a link in the description. There's a lot of information in there. We got basically everything in there. Anything you could want sneaker-wise, it's in there. And we got monitors. We got everything you'd want. If you're a sneaker reseller, if you're just any kind of reseller, we got monitors, we got slots, we got a marketplace, we got tickets, we got everything. Anything you can want, we got it.